Hello, everyone.
Yo, 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 yo,
Hello.
yo. In
Indeed,
the
Andy
house.
here from Biohazard Declassified. I've got two very, very special guests today. First of all, the main event of the show, of course, Lexonal.
That's right.
Hello,
The
people.
the boy wonder, he's here.
I'm
He's he's
Indeed,
Wesker Jr.
and we
he's
just
here.
happen on the side to have
That's
Pablo
right.
Kuntz, the
That's right.
original Albert Wesker from 1996. The game was released, but of course, it was shot in what 1995 time.
That's right. But we recorded in 1995. Um, and that's right. Released a year later. And here we are, what, 25 plus years.
It's a
Amazing.
long time.
Amazing, right? This is a franchise in the making. Anyway, it's great to be here. Thanks for inviting us. It's a lot of fun. A lot of
Indeed.
fun. Yeah.
No, the
Yeah.
absolute pleasure is all mine.
Mm.
Thank you for making the time for us today.
Hey guys.
So, why why now? Why have you resurfaced? And
Mm.
why are we now doing things online with Resident Evil?
Why am I here? Why am I here? Well, it really is an accident in a sense from my sword videos online on YouTube where somebody said, "Hey, aren't you the voice of Albert Wesker? Your voice sounds exactly like that." And I was like, "Albert Wesker, like where have I heard this name before?" And I had to jump back onto YouTube and I took a look at all these old videos and I saw that there I am with Resident Evil and Albert Wesker and it just brought back all these memories of doing the voice 25 years
And you
ago. You
completely
know,
forgot about
I
everything.
totally forgot. I mean, I just didn't know about it. And then when and then it just took me by surprise. What can I say? It just took me by surprise. And so when I kind of confessed to Lexonal that that I did this voice many years ago, take a look at this, and he was like, "Oh, Dad, cringe! Look at this. Everybody's making fun of that. Don't open that door and everything." I I said why don't we play with this because he started showing interest in doing some YouTube videos and all that. And so I said, why don't we do this one little reenactment, right? And so some people have seen this 30-second clip or so. It's about 30
Oh,
seconds, right?
yeah,
Where
sure.
we exactly where he goes up the stairs and he goes towards the bathroom, and just as he opens up the door, I say, "Stop it! Don't open that door!" And he's like, "Dad, what's the problem? It's
Yeah.
just a bathroom." And then he goes in, and it from there people started communicating and saying how much
And then remade more lines, and people just loved it even more.
that's right. They just kept on saying, "Let's do more lines, reenact." And then they said, "Why don't you play the game?" Because I honestly lived in Japan, Tokyo for many years. I recorded it what 1994, right, or 95, and then I just didn't know anything about it until even while I was living in Japan, right? This whole thing started, and the movies were going on. I mean, I saw the Biohazard, but nothing clicked, because I was doing modeling and acting and just making money to go and to basically backpack throughout Southeast Asia, right? So it's just a way of making funds and
I thought it
and
was a film at first, but I just saw all these cutscenes. Like, is this a film or a game? I'm confused.
yeah, it's true, right? Yeah, but it is definitely a game. And anyway, here I am, and so now we're playing the game, and for everyone who's watching, and I know that there's some people have already seen some of the episodes, but we've been playing together. So Lexonal's at the helm. He's playing the game Resident Evil 1, RE1. We did 8 episodes of Jill at the helm, and that was a lot of fun. That was how many hours did we complete it in?
Like 13 hours and 50 minutes.
13 hours and 50 minutes.
And then
But
I
it's
think it was
It's
51
understandable.
in
seconds.
51 seconds. He remembers, but it was really, but we had the best ending though. We rescued everybody. Well, I shouldn't have said that,
We
right?
forgot
No,
Chris a few times though. Oh yeah,
Oh
Chris.
yeah,
We always
Chris.
forget.
Chris is in the dungeon down there. We got to get that guy. He's smoking a cigarette. Come on, Chris. And but now we're on Chris. So we're playing Chris. We finished one episode. We're going to be recording tomorrow our second episode, and every couple of weeks we go live on both our channels, right? So I think you can probably get our channel names in the description somewhere.
Yeah.
But please come along. If you're an RE fan, you have to watch the two of us play because it's a lot of fun. He's playing, and I'm just doing a kind of color commentary the whole time, just whatever comes to mind, and it's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm genuinely, I know that I'm part of the game, and it is a bit freaky to see and hear your voice, come into the game once in a while. But I can honestly say I love the game. I think it's a clever. It's a clever.
Do you
it's a
think you
clever
sound
game.
like any different from 25 years ago? Like your voice has
I think I
changed?
sound pretty much the same, right?
You
Pretty
don't-
much the
You
same.
don't sound different.
I mean, I'm not like smoking cigarettes and stuff. Like people that
Yeah.
smoke, they get deeper and deeper. Like as you age, you can actually hear the groveliness. But I think the voice is pretty much the same. Whereas you, young man, his voice has been changing over the episodes we've been recording. Like the first episode of Jill, he's like,
Hey guys.
what 10 decibels higher, and it's just like puberty is like gone right through this thing. It's quite funny to see it in real time. But it's
But that's
cool. It's great.
that by the way is the absolute beauty of Resident Evil. I briefly mentioned it just off air, that kind of and for a lot of people, Resident Evil was always a nostalgia thing. They remember playing it with their siblings or with their parents.
Yeah.
So for the fact you've kind of come full circle and you're
Yeah.
doing it with your child is absolutely crazy and
Well,
really
I mean,
endearing.
that you couldn't have spoken more true words. I mean, that is what's been the big propulsion of us doing these
Interviews.
and these games, because people are saying, dude, you have no idea. I used to play with my uncle, or my mother and I used to try and figure out these
Yeah, the
puzzles.
interview we did, the guy was playing with his sister. I
Yeah.
think. Like,
Yeah, it was so good, like, and the thing is, of course, this is pre-internet days, so nobody, and if you didn't get the puzzle, you really didn't get it, right? You were on your own, right? And so, that was, that was really cool to see, like, oh yeah, we struggled so hard on trying to just kill those hunters, couldn't kill those hunters, and then people would talk about getting those books, right? Those textbooks, and in the back, these game books that people would have made notes saying that they in order to win this or to get this puzzle, you need to, put it in order. For example, the Jill thing with the paintings, right? The youngest to oldest kind of thing, right? That would have been written in the notes, right? Okay, youngest to oldest, and a toddler, is
wish-
older than an infant.
I wish I was Lexonal, and I've mentioned this on my streams. I wish I could just forget Resident Evil, like have just short term, almost like an amnesia episode, and just play the game like it's a brand new game again. Because it is a special experience. It really is. What are your thoughts? I know obviously we're hearing from Pablo Lexonal, but what are your thoughts on Resident Evil?
Well, yeah, like when you first play the game, a lot of jump scares you, but it like determines you to keep playing. Like it's a game that people like the surviving games where you keep going, and it's really interesting.
Yeah.
It's and again, it is a product of its time. Like it's not the easiest to control. It is a learning curve. Kind of getting your head around the controls.
Oh yeah, remember that first control thing? You were like doing W1.
Oh yeah, we have the most weird cram controls ever.
We were talking about that in our first episode. Like he's in the dining room, right? And you're going like, what is it? One? Is it one to shoot?
Again? Like,
like anybody was watching kind of went like, oh
and
no.
it took us like
You know,
10 minutes
but
to find out how to just
But we were
sprint, right?
exactly, but we were so honest with this game. Like we're not trying to pretend that we're a speedrunner. We're just being
Of
like,
course.
and people saw it like, God, this is, and they see the progression. They see how, he starts to get, he's like, hey, he's killing those dogs now, like.
Yeah, I was dodging those zombies this episode that we just did. Very good.
That's it. It seems, well, that's what's kind of interesting about this game is that the better you are at this game, the less you confront things.
Yes.
Everybody's like
It's
running
just
around
running
stuff.
around the holes.
It's like you're not
Yeah.
touching. It's like the snake. We were like, how do you kill the snake? You don't kill the snake. You just go around it. Like everybody's just talking about, what are you talking about? You're supposed to kill it, no?
Apparently,
But
the
actually,
snake's
yeah,
a
yeah.
bad part for speedrunning because when you get bit,
That's
it
right.
takes you back to
That's
like
right,
a
yeah.
different part of the map.
It
That's
does.
right. You get poisoned. Yeah. You
That's
get
when they
poisoned.
start rage quitting.
Right.
Yeah, and of course, it's Resident Evil it's always been very unforgiving if you die. Like unless you save, unfortunately, it's back to the beginning. We are quite fortunate these days where I remember back playing it on the original PlayStation. If you didn't have a memory card, well, you couldn't save it.
That's right. That's right.
And there's stories, online of people like, yeah, I used to leave my PlayStation on overnight and then play it in the morning, and just because I couldn't save
is
it.
that right? Oh, yeah. Tell me how that worked. Actually, you're saying that the early PlayStations, you couldn't actually save your work, like you had to.
Well,
Or
yeah. So
yeah,
back in the day, you used to when Resident Evil first came out on the PlayStation, you'd have to have a memory card to save your data, to save your playthrough, so you can kind of come back and where you save the ink ribbons.
okay. Yeah. Oh, right.
It would
Yeah. Yeah.
it would save to a memory card. Now, if you either weren't fortunate enough or didn't have a memory card,
Yeah.
if you turned your PlayStation off, well, you lost all your data and then you started at the beginning.
Yeah.
So often what you had was people who had borrowed the game and didn't have a memory card. They would just go, "Oh, I really want to play the game, but I need to go to sleep. Like, I'm
Right.
just going to have to leave it on."
Oh, I see.
That's the
And then they
late
came
late
back.
90s. Eh?
Wow. No kidding. Yeah.
And your computer's super laggy in the morning.
Well, exactly.
Yeah,
It wasn't any
exactly, yeah.
better in the 90s. Talking about the 90s, then, and I appreciate, Pablo, it was 25 years ago, and an absolute snapshot in your life. To the best of your recollection, because this is 1995 is extremely early for voice acting in games
Right.
anyway.
That's right.
Can you, to the best of your knowledge, talk us through kind of what the process was back in the
Right.
day and how you were asked to act as Wesker?
Yeah. I mean, so you join various voice freelance agencies, and you get a tape, basically like a recording, like a demo reel, so to speak, and that's how I just put it into one of the agencies, and I think it was through Sergio, a good friend of mine, Sergio, who was actually, if you look online and you see who's credited as the first voice of Albert Wesker, you'll see Sergio Alarcon. But actually, he's not the voice. He's probably the person that introduced me to the voice agency or the production company that was, in charge of doing the voice acting. But I didn't do any particular, it is strange. And actually was kind of happy when I saw that Sergio's name was originally credited there. I thought it was probably not getting as much heat as.
Does he even sound like you anyway?
He didn't even sound like me. No.
Didn't even like try to compare his voice to the
No,
actual
like
name.
people that don't speak English as a first language are going like, that guy doesn't sound anything like that at all, But but there was no audition. Like some people have asked me, is there an audition process? Did you see all the actors? That wasn't like that at all. It was, I think they just had a pool of people. I have no idea how many they went through, and they just said, okay, this person for this and this person for that, and that's how it was. And they just call you. The agency calls you and says, oh, they like you for this one particular role. Are you available on this date and this date? And I was, of course, and yeah, and then got the script, but really had no guidance, even when I was actually there, or even before. It was just, I could tell that it was a game, but and I saw the other actors' lines as my line was there, but
they didn't really tell you like how to say it. They just gave you lines.
Yeah, it was just lines. You just read the lines. That's
They didn't
right.
say like say it in this way as if you're being chased by a
No.
monster. They just said read the story.
Yeah, that's right. And it wasn't like, yeah, exactly. There wasn't like I could see, oh, okay, like, oh, this is a kind of an idea of where, just no idea, right? So you just read it. So that's why when I say, stop it, don't open that door, like it's so over the top, right? I know it is. And, but when you look at the game, it's not, it really should just be like, stop, don't open that door. It's a little bit too dramatic, but it's, it's in the RE history, that line now. But,
I think a lot of people as well, they've always said about the voice acting is very unique in Resident Evil, but I've always put it down to, obviously it was Biohazard in Japan. They didn't know it was going to be a success. So if anything, because it was appealing to a Japanese audience, they almost made like the actors almost overemphasize words. That was kind of my
you're 100%
theory on
right.
it.
You're 100% right. 100% right. I've talked about this in the past, but you are exactly right, because I was doing, some acting, and I say acting very loosely because basically you're hired because you're a Western face in Japan, and they need a guy in the background or in a boardroom to go and get angry at a Japanese guy for this candy bar commercial or something like that, and you start angry, but exactly what you said, Andy. It's like you are over the top. Like show emotion, show anger, because the commercials are often very short. They're on like 15 seconds.
You're in that doctor.
So it's like, oh, like this. And then it's like, oh, then happy, very, so it's always, you get used to doing that with, you know, with the, you know, when it comes to the directing, right? So you see the lines and you get into the sort of Japanese way that, okay, they want me to be a bit more over action, you know. And if you've seen any Japanese movies, by the way, you'll see a lot of times the eyes are big and they kind of do this sort of like theatrical, I am now acting, you know, that's kind of the Japanese way. But so you're spot on that. Like we just, I think all of us even assumed that's what they wanted, to just do it a little bit more over the top, because that's just what every commercial is like that. Even the Japanese acting, it's always like da, 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 like some cartoony thing, and they're all smiling and they're doing this 4 people in unison thing. It just really, like, if you just YouTube Japanese commercials, vibe. They're always like just
the
so
same voice
funny
for everything.
Yeah, but it's just like it's always like somebody with some problem, and then at the end they have 5-6 people doing the same thing, going da da da, like as if we should all do this, whatever it is. We should all buy this. So you know, we should all. That's
what Westerners are like.
Exactly. You know, so it's so I think that's why we you know, that's why we acted like we did, and
yeah, and the voices from the Japanese adverts sound like Lego adverts when the guys are like intense like voice, and it just it's really quite similar actually. Yeah, it's just a funny way. But you're spot on. You're the first person that you have said that, like, you assumed. I mean, that's actually exactly what happened. And also, of course, the translation is Japanese English, right? I mean, it's like it's clearly right. Stop it, not stop, don't, but stop it. You know, stop it.
And I'm sure you've picked it up from your lines weren't. Like I've actually just finished a stream of Resident Evil 1, so it's actually really fresh in my mind. Your lines aren't as, I would say, awkward as the other actors. Like the other actors got some really odd delivery, and it almost,
that's right. Yeah,
you can tell it either wasn't written by someone that has English as their first language. But again, like back in 1995, like this was the first Resident Evil game. They didn't know it was going to be a big deal. They didn't know. Right. You know, that it was going to have this absolutely insane international cult following.
That's right. No, but they had no idea. And it's true. Like Barry is like, oh, he's really getting into it. Like he really huffs and puffs and everything. And he's like, you're almost a Jill sandwich. Like he really kind of huffs it, you know, through it. And that's, and I saw him doing it. It was quite funny to watch him through the window, you know, getting into his lines and everything. Lynn, who did Rebecca, which we've got here in Chris, we saw, you know, she sounds like a Japanese. And she lived in Japan for many years. She actually sounds very like Japanesey girl in that.
Her voice is so. Like,
it's like really like, you know, like it's very awkward. Like a very Japanese girl, and she's not like that at all. Like it's really put on, that voice, because the voice that you can see that Wesker is not far different from what I'm. This is my voice, right? I didn't put on anything. I just like this is how I'm talking.
Just spoke it out. She put it on. It was good acting.
I've had some. Yeah, I know that the lines are kind of weird, but people have said they enjoyed the way it went off with Wesker, and I'm completely
believe the Japanese
I'm happy with that.
Sound like that, you know?
It is endearing. It is endearing.
Yeah, the lines are, you know, I tried to make a kind of a smile when I did a lot of lines, right? I think people saw that when I was reenacting. I realized that's what I was doing. I was actually smiling, you know, like, that's right, and like I rather than just saying that's right, I was like that. Then and it's kind of like it's a little bit of a grimace. So that kind of flows through the whole way. But that's me, you know, like it's just more of a smiley character, you know. So I just did what I do. I really wasn't really trying to act, honestly.
Well, but it's again, like this was like really early voice acting at this time. You know, the PlayStation was one of the first real like 3D consoles. Like before that, it was like Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. You know, so like this is different ball game stuff.
Yeah,
they probably didn't really even know what they wanted to kind of. You know, you look at like Nikopos Leadus, who's the Resident Evil 2 Leon.
Yeah,
like now is so much more complex. He's like he's almost a method actor in a way. He like really gets into the role like a traditional actor would. Yeah. It's crazy to see the kind of development in voice acting.
And also the characters as well. Like I mean, the actual like the pixelation of the game, it kind of works with the voice, right? It seems like the more realistic you have the characters, right, and we're seeing everything so hyper realistic, then the voice acting has to be
Good.
so like natural, right?
Mm.
It can't be acting in a sense. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's acting, but
It's
if
more,
you're, it's just because the balance is not right. The balance is off. It'll be totally off.
it's more than that as well, because, you know, now they kind of you know, they'll put all like
That's right.
ping pong balls
Yeah,
all
yeah,
over their
yeah.
face and capture all their kind of facial muscles, and it's literally got to be, as you said, 1-to-1.
Yeah.
How did you end up in Japan? Because you're from Montreal originally.
That's right.
Obviously,
Yeah, I
you're
mean, I was
well-traveled man.
well-traveled, I suppose.
Teaching English,
I was
wasn't it?
teaching English. That's right.
Of course.
I was hired. I just finished school in Canada, and a friend of mine from uni said, like, I think you should. I think you'd be good for Japan. I think, you know, you can teach English there. You want to travel. You've told me you want to travel. Go to Japan. You know. So and I had and then when you're like 22, it's like, yeah, that sounds. I know I like the food actually, because I had a friend of mine from high school that was half Japanese, and I was introduced to Japanese food at a fairly young age, and so I was like, well, what matters to you when you're 22? So, yeah, you know, like, so I got hired as an English teacher in Toronto, Canada, and then I flew to Japan in early November 1993 is when I first went to Japan, and so I taught for about 5-6 months, and then it was a 1-year contract, but I just didn't like teaching English. Actually, I mean, I like doing these night.
You'd make the kids cry.
That's right. I did. I made a few kids cry. And I wasn't the best teacher. I mean, because I would, you know, because Japanese are quite sensitive people, and they're trying to, and I was probably too brash and young and cavalier as a teacher, and probably could have been more caring, you know. But it wasn't like I was berating the teacher or the student, but I'd see their level and say, it's okay, you can do this, you know, you're at level 5 now, you know. And then all of a sudden the pressure, and it's a small room, and I was, oh no, like you see the tears, you know, kind of welling. I'm like, oh no, how do I wrap? Yeah, you know, how do I back up here, you know? And I'm like, oh no, you know. But the truth is, I was teaching like 50 minutes and then 10 minutes off, 50 minutes, 10 minutes off. And anyway, long story short, as I said, okay, that's enough. I'll quit and see what else I can do. And that's when another friend of mine said, you can, you know, try doing some like modeling acting. They're always looking for foreigners over there and in Japan, and so that's what I did, you know. So I ended up just doing that, and but it was all just it was an English. As many people, you know, get hired, you know, going to Japan is you know, you teach English, or Korea. You may have heard of China. People going to China as well. They're always looking for conversational schools to teach English, and so it was a great in. And then from there, I ended up, you know, as you know, for the voice, and then I went back to Japan and started a web design company, and then from there went on to Japanese swords. So if people are interested in learning about antique Japanese swords, they can, you know.
Please furnish us, because this is I feel like this is an interesting story.
Well, it's so I'm like, here I am. So I went back to Canada in 1997, and I learned, and I saw this advertisement to go and study the World Wide Web, right? The internet, young man, right? 1997. So I'm learning how to code in HTML, and I thought, this is kind of cool. Like, you know, I can build something here. You know, I was never really handy necessarily, like building. You know, my dad's actually a very handy guy, actually, and I was never really great on just like building. You know, like people like car mechanics and all that kind of stuff, you know. Yeah. So, but I like the idea of actually building a website, like building this interface where people can come. And so I built Japan's first modeling agency website in 1997, and I was there trying to recruit and, you know, getting people around the world to come do exactly what I did, you know, for 3 or 4 years, and then I said, you know, I can go back to Japan and just start a company just building websites and bilingual websites, you know, because I knew this is going to be big. I knew that Japanese companies are going to want to be online and communicate internationally, and this web is going to be a perfect interface, you know. So they're all going to want to have a website. So that's what March 4th International was, just to build websites, and did that for a number of years. And
it's a cool birthday, March 4th, because didn't you make it at the March 4th and keep like moving?
That's right. Well, I wanted the company named March 4th, like, so like kind of a Maimuki is like move forward, like March 4th, like let's go on forward. And my birthday happens to be March 4th, so that was a kind of a cool, like, I thought it was cool at the time, at least.
May the 4th be with you.
Exactly, kind of like Star Wars, and so. But then it just went from there. So here I am building websites again for people, building websites for, for many, Sony and Nissan, lots of big companies, and a team of like 10 designers with me. It was quite an organization I had, over in Japan and Tokyo. I had my own office and everything. But Donna and I, my wife, Donna, who I met in Japan, and that's why I'm living in Essex now, and in England. I met her in Tokyo. But her and I, we both like the sort of the handicraft, the crafting. Whether it's kitchen knives, all these chopsticks, anything handmade in Japan. And so we decided to build Unique Japan as an interface to help foreigners, Westerners, to find these really amazing handcrafted products in Japan. And of course, these handcrafted products, the craftsmen in Japan, for them, the fax machine was the latest in tech, and there was no way they were ever going to build their own website. So here was a portal for people internationally to go and find out about these crafts. And so I was invited to go on to a military base, Yokota military base. Yokota, there's a lot of U.S. military forces in Japan. You might know 100,000 about GIs. And they said, I heard you're doing this, this Unique Japan stuff. Why don't you come over to the Officers Club and sell some of your stuff? So I went over there, and this is sort of mid 2000s. This is mid 2000s now. And I brought some kitchen knives, Daruma dolls, a bunch of Japanese crafts. And then I would talk about the Japanese samurai sword background of these knives, So the military, they just beeline towards these kitchen knives, for them, which is like it made total sense, for them, sharp, shiny object, and they went mental for it, and it was great. They would just try it, and then they're just so sharp, these kitchen knives.
Japan's got a history of chopping bodies.
Exactly, from chopping bodies to chopping meat and vegetables, right? Exactly. And they were like, dude, this is the best knives. And I would talk about the samurai sword background. And they will, these knives are amazing. You keep talking about the samurai sword background. Do you think you can get me a samurai sword? Well, while I'm here, because I'm only here for 2 or 3 years. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like how am I supposed to get you a samurai sword? Are you nuts? And he's like, well, I heard you can kind of get them. Like, I don't know. Like, somebody told me, and I'm like, whatever. And I totally brushed it off at the beginning. And then another one asked me, and another one asked me. And then, funny enough, Donna actually knew a friend of hers that actually collected Japanese swords, and so he introduced me to his dealer that he trusted. And I said, "Look, Mister, his name is Narazaki-san." I said, "Narazaki-san, I have no idea whether people are going to be interested in these samurai swords, but would you be willing to come to one of our events on a U.S. military base and bring some swords, and then we'll see, right?" And now a lot of people, when they go to these bazaars, these military bazaars, and they are bizarre. They're selling like $20 items in 50. They kind of, they think they can, but actually a lot of these military folk, especially the officers, the accommodations paid for, and they have a fair amount of disposable income. Yeah. So getting the $200 kitchen knife or the $500 kitchen knife wasn't that much of a stretch. Yeah. And it was a good souvenir for their Japan, but would they want to buy a $5,000, $10,000, $20,000 sword? That was a different story, right? And so when we brought all these swords, I just had no idea. But man, did we get a bunch of, it was just like bees to honey. Everybody was so interested, right? Like, can you imagine all these military guys and their actual samurai swords on your military base? And they were just like, they were out of their minds. They were how.
And then, did you not get any money from that?
We sold 3 swords in like 2 hours, like it went like bang. And
that
then
was a lot. That was like £100,000.
Something like it was a lot of money, but each sword was about maybe like $5,000 or $10,000. But it was more like, it was just like, wow. I began to, discover the Japanese sword, and all my time in Japan, from doing the voice stuff to learning about teamwork and all the high quality.
This Wesker cartoon line, it's more than that.
That's right. Exactly. Everything kind of just came full circle, because if you learn about Japanese sword, everything's, the history's there, and it's a teamwork of several craftsmen. And so I was like, wow, I was totally hooked on this Japanese sword stuff. And I was like, I'm going to learn as much as I can on this. And I just dove right into the water of Japanese swords. And I haven't really looked back since about 2006, 7. And well, I really went full on with swords in 2009, 10. And then, yeah, several hundred swords I've sold now and internationally and to people here in the UK and of course a lot of Americans.
And you sell one sword that was worth quite a lot.
Yeah. Some swords get down to $150,000 to $200,000.
And you still do that to this day?
Oh yeah, that's my business. Yeah, that's my business.
Brilliant. Okay.
Yeah, I have a staff in Japan and we still have some legacy clients that we deal with the website stuff, but it's mainly Japanese swords. I'm one of the main international dealers now,
and they're so like pretty, and that when you shine the light on them, the reflection is so nice.
Yeah. Once in a while, I show Lexonal a sword. Like we had a sword here from 1259 in the house, right?
So the Swedish guy, wasn't it?
Yeah, no, there's clients from the Middle East, but that was a good one. Yeah, he remembers some of the top ones, but the swords are. I mean, you're holding something that's 800. Well, recently was 800 years old, right? And just like, it's unbelievable how beautiful.
People made that, and it's
and the signature's still there, and honestly, it's just amazing. So if anybody's,
it's almost like a canvas in a way. It tells its own story.
You really feel it,
Yeah.
I mean, I know that I'm quite close to these swords now, but you feel this energy, right? Like just you're holding something that essentially, if you looked at it, you would say, yeah, maybe 100 years old, right? And it's like 800. You would not say it's the folding of the steel and just the quality of craftsmanship. They have not really, and then even to today, like we have craftsmen that are just trying to mimic the techniques that
like people feel powerful with fighting with those swords.
They felt powerful. Yeah, it's a good question. I think, of course, they felt powerful, but they
gave them some type of boost in the amazing sword and savageness.
I don't know. Like, I mean, yeah, you think, I mean, of course, there's some swords that are kind of more brutish and stuff, but there's a kind of peace of mind as well. Like you have these swords, and it's like you feel like you have something very, very, very important. Some people thought, oh, you're going to get all these maniacal, crazy people with like swords, but it's really not that, right? All my clients are quite well read, and they like to read about the history, and they take it very seriously about how they're going to handle these swords, probably off to their own kids in the future.
Are they even good at fighting anyway?
What's that?
Those swords that you.
Oh yeah, they're all sharp.
Yeah,
they're all sharp. They're sharp. Yeah, and they're still sharp, right? A lot of people do ask me, are these still sharp? And I'm like, it's crazy, right? 600 years sharp is 600 years sharp. Yeah. They do have to be polished after a while.
When it gets the tiniest bit blunt, you're like, no.
Yeah, well, I mean, you polish it up, but I mean, people are not cutting up cantaloupes and stuff, like they just take care of it, and that's a nice thing. And with a very digital world, I'm selling something of that's really old and
even
tangible.
Those like sword machines like 800 years ago that would.
No, there's no machines. Like it's all
it's all
the hammer.
handmade.
Because now they have the
hammers. Those guys, the old guys that are like that under the machine goes like that.
That's right. Yeah, the hammer machines. Exactly. They some people use that, but
back the sparks look so cool. And it's like
the sparks, yeah. Well, the sparks are impurities, right? They're coming out. It's awesome. Anyway, if anybody's really interested, go to uniquejapan.com and
you've got a video on it, haven't you? On the making of the sword. It's really cool.
I do have a couple.
And that's on is that on your personal YouTube, is it?
Yeah, I think if you just go to YouTube, if you go to my personal YouTube, you'll see lots of things.
Video, I'm quite sure.
Oh, we've got that linked in the description.
Yeah.
So we've come from Canada, then we went through Japan.
That's right.
We've spoke about Unique Japan. How did you end up in the UK a stone's throw away?
A stone's throw. In fact, I think I'd hit your house the other day, right? We were throwing rocks.
Yeah.
I
don't know what that shower glass was.
It's interesting. Yeah, exactly. All that, well, I met Donna. When did I meet Donna? 1999 in Tokyo. And yeah, what can I say? Love at first sight. And, we had Hannah, we got married in 2002, and then 2007, we had Hannah, our firstborn. And then this guy, 2009, and then And then 2010, we really started thinking like, where are we going to live? And do we move back to Canada? Do we stay in Japan? And you've got like international school, right?
Was it a stressful time then?
It was stressful. That was the hardest time in my life for sure. That's like around that 2009, 2010, because I was just starting. If you go back to Unique Japan, I'm just beginning this kind of adventure. I'm thinking I'm going to go into these sorts, and Donna's like, really? And I go, I just think this is going to work.
Was obviously post-recession and everything like that.
Exactly right. We had that the global melt. That was a tough time. Yeah, and anybody who's lived through that was like, oh god. Like it's weird because you have these suppliers, people pay you on time, and you pay your rent, and you have your staff, and then all of a sudden somebody says, oh, I need a couple more months. And it's like, okay, if you need a couple more months, then I got to ask this person a couple more months. And we realized, and we were seeing this in real time now, right, with even with COVID situations and some of the supply chain problems, right? Like it is just, we are so,
you couldn't pay you.
That's right. Yeah. And then,
like,
and then you have staff. When you have staff and that need like to pay their rent, like that is and that's why I'm so like, when even with this, I'll digress quickly on the economy, but like this whole like COVID stuff and everybody like these, so hard on small businesses, like where they're just like, you can't stop. And I know that feeling of being just like trying to get your head above water, and you've got people that you want to, that you have hired, that you don't want to lose them. And you had all that furlough scheme and all that. And they're just trying to dance through this whole thing. And it's, I knew how stressful that was for a lot of people because I've been through that anyway, but I digress. But it's small business really is dear to me because I've been basically doing my own thing for several years now, and it's the backbone of the economy and the entrepreneurship, that sort of that kind of like to go for it, just to take that chance, to take those risks, which I actually see a little bit in Resident Evil, like you're going through those doors, you have no idea what's behind that door, it's kind of life being reenacted there. It's like, and you got the zombie there, of course you die, then you can just reboot the game, but that could be a sale that didn't go through and that you thought that's a zombie that just killed you kind of thing. And
what a unique way of regroup,
but that's a little bit what's going on with Resident Evil, but yeah, you just have to regroup. And anyway, you asked about Donna. So we 2010, we really started thinking where we're going to live. And then 2011, we said, okay, we're going to move to South End because Donna's family is from here. And
you loved Adventure Island so much. You
exactly.
thought,
I know exactly. I just had to get on the rage, But the thing is, if Donna was from Newcastle, I'd be in Newcastle right now. I grew up in Canada.
The thick accent right there.
Exactly right. I grew up
Newcastle.
in Newcastle. That's right. That Geordie, is it?
Yeah.
What?
Is that it? Yeah, Geordie. I'm learning all this stuff now, and I noticed that nobody really knows where things are, like geographically here in the UK. If somebody says like, "Oh yeah, I was just over in Pembrokeshire or something," I goes, "Oh yeah, where's that?" I think it's up north somewhere. It's they just say north.
Anything above Watford is up north.
It's just like I don't know, like nobody knows where anything is here. I've noticed. But growing up in Canada, we didn't have. My mother's from South America. My dad's from out west in Canada. Didn't have any grandparents around. A lot of my friends didn't have grandparents around. So there was always just parents, right? And but when Donna would talk about her nan and how important granddad was as well, and I thought, we just said we want to have family around, and so and it's been great. Marilyn and Bob, and the kids are obviously very close to Donna's family, and we go to Canada once in a while.
Like, I'm more close to, like, if I was to live in Canada, be close to your parents.
That's right.
There's going to be that connection because your mum is a bit like
different character, right? Like that sort of South American,
yeah.
like
Can you wash the dishes, please? He's like, no,
yeah.
I'm going to go home.
Yeah, exactly. She kind of puts everybody to work, Whereas like Nan over here, it just does everything for you. I've noticed. Well, let me take care of that. Let me drive you here. It's okay. My mother is like more like, oh, your shoes are not tied properly. Whatever. But anyway, the point is that we moved here because. For family support. And I must say, when we did move here, I felt, because we had missed that in Japan, like the extra hand, we had no babies. We had a babysitter, but, you had to pay for it and all that kind of stuff. And
plus there is the the Western, well, the Western, like
It's
the
true.
Western gap as well. There's
right.
massive cultural. I mean, you could argue even between Canada and the UK, there's still a little bit of a culture difference. So
Of course, yeah, the kids would pick up on that, and but yeah, that's yeah. So when we moved here, all of a sudden I felt like, whoa, we got a house, and it just I felt a sense of calm a little bit, where the foundations were right, kids going to school free, good, good school, great, and
nice school.
grandparents around, they're going to help these days. I can just focus here. I got my own room.
drive
It
on the
just felt,
correct side of the road.
what's again? What?
I was going to say, drive on the correct side of the road, that sort of thing.
I don't drive here, actually. I don't have a car.
Oh.
It's interesting,
okay.
actually. I'm like one of the, I think the only person in this whole neighborhood without a car. But that's a side story, because in Japan I got used to.
You haven't got a car.
I know. It's like, you take the bus, really? But that's a kind of side story if you want to get into that. But that's because I was in. I grew up driving like mad in Canada. Right?
Oh yeah, you were driving at like 16, weren't you?
I was driving at 16. I was driving my sister to high school. At 16, I was driving half an hour there, half an hour back, going to swimming. It was just driving. And
Isn't it fun though, driving?
I loved it. It's a freedom with driving, for sure.
Yeah, it's more than just driving. It's like
especially in
your own life in a way.
Exactly, yeah, you feel it. And especially in Canada, everything that it's like it's big roads and everything. So when I moved to Japan, nobody drives, because you can't afford it. So it's just
whatnot.
So
Cycling.
years of just taking the subway and train and getting there. I had a scooter though when I was in Japan. I had a little scooter, and that was quite fun, but a little bit terrifying sometimes, because there's just like so much traffic, and so when the kids were born, I thought, oh, I better get off this thing, because I wanted a single parent,
Yeah, of course.
So I cleared that, and I started taking the train more. And then I get to the UK, and there's just too many friggin' cars here, especially where we are. There's just everybody, and then you're driving, and it's like you stop and come around. The person goes over, it gives a big hi, and then you go around. And it's all this. There's all this guy, yeah, and then you didn't say thank you or whatever, and then there's all this anger management.
And then there's that one like cocky granddad that's like doesn't let that there's the nice people that let their kids go by when they're walking out of school, and then there's the ones that just barge through honking on the.
That's right. Yeah, there's some really cantankerous guys on the road, but that
real savages actually.
I think it's a home counties thing. Like I felt like when I was driving in London, for example, like Kent's, it's urban, but it's still pretty suburban.
Yeah.
And drive around, hello, and if you have to give way and stuff, you put your hands up, and they don't play games in like sort of Greater London. You just drive in, everyone's just in their own world. So
that's right, and it's just busy, right? And I never felt the thrill of driving here. I just I just liked. And I'm at home. Also, when I'm working at home, I'm not going to drive to the school. I'm going to sit again. So I just walk. So it's a lifestyle choice, really. And if I wanted to, I just rent a car. Or now I get taxis. Well, I've always had taxis once in a while, but the taxi drivers are so happy that they got a call, right? Like, oh, I haven't had a call in an hour, so I feel like I'm helping the economy in that way as well. But I just, but I did the numbers as well. Like, what's the cost to rent a car or to have a car, and the insurance, and I just couldn't make the numbers work. And I said, I don't need it, And so it is funny. I'm like the only person, and everybody has 2 or 3 cars, but I don't care. I really don't care.
People have like 3, 4 cars.
Yeah, I know. A lot of people have a lot of cars.
Does Donna drive?
No.
Oh, you both don't drive?
Answer.
No, there's no car. We have no car, dude.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
There's
interesting.
no car. We have no car.
But I suppose Southend is still quite connected from a public transport point of view anyway.
Buses every 10 minutes.
You need to drive.
In Canada, you have to drive.
Like, bro.
Yeah, no, of course. When I'm there, and I enjoy driving there. I end up driving. I'll drive hours there. But here, I don't see the joy. Everybody seems kind of stressed, and everybody seems to be driving in their own area. Nobody seems to venture out very far.
It's these old Roman roads that we kept for the longest time, and everything is too small. And
it's too small.
What was it like?
It's not. I mean, this is not what, for me, it's not what driving is supposed to be. So I'm full on in the public transport. So the buses come every 10, 15 minutes. And the trains run every 15 minutes, and getting to London is an hour. I just don't see why.
What's it? Nanny's been driving for like
that's right.
Like
Nanny drives us once in a while if
like
we need to.
40 years or something, and she can't drive out of Canby. So
Yeah. No, she doesn't like to drive outside. It has kind of this invisible moat that she doesn't want to drive out because it's just no.
Cool.
I don't go
Canby.
there. It's
I
too
can't
far.
go over there. That's too far.
It is kind of funny.
Get the bus.
Yeah, exactly. No, but
you've been driving for, like,
these guys are going to learn how to
8
drive, and I've already thought about it. They're going to drive me around when I get older.
Of course, yeah. Why not?
So when you
Your
guys,
personal
You have
chauffeur.
to pay me.
See, it's all about it's all about the cash, you know.
Exactly. That's the entrepreneur coming out in
Yeah,
Lexonal,
exactly.
you see.
You know, like
He's a taxi driver.
yeah, exactly. You're my personal. Hannah will be the first one to drive. But that'll be interesting to see them drive for the first
Maybe
time.
I might be the first one to drive.
You think so? Yeah, you're
I'll
gonna
be a good driver.
Yeah. I think
We
I can see
all
this guy
say that.
driving.
We all say-
How old were you when you first got your license? 18, 20?
I was actually I was quite late. So my partner got her license at 17 and I got mine at 20. So actually quite late in the grains. But I was very much the same as you. I was going to university.
Yeah.
And I just didn't need a car at that point. It was just an unnecessary expense. But
Yeah.
you know, I suppose if I wasn't well connected, it would I would definitely make that change.
Gravesend's on that C2C line, right? You're like what is that?
Well, we've got the
what's
we
that-
got
what's that
we
line
got
there?
HS1.
Stanford La Hope, whatever.
No,
It's
that's
like
that's the other side. That's the
Oh,
that's
is it?
still
Oh
in
yeah,
Essex.
sorry. Yeah.
So we've got
that's right.
we've got
That's
Ebbsfleet,
right.
which is the HS1, the high
Oh.
speed into London. So it's 20 minutes into London.
Yeah,
Really?
I've never been good.
Just
at
20 minutes. Where you are?
Yeah.
Really? Wow,
Yeah,
that's fast. That's great.
So we're kind of like the extended commuter belt, if you like.
Yeah.
So
20
you
minutes
can
to get to
appreciate it.
London.
20 minutes. That's pretty awesome.
Where it takes us an hour and a half.
Yeah, 20
takes
minutes.
us an
Yeah,
hour.
20 minutes to St Pancras.
Yeah.
So
How does that
Yeah.
work?
Oh, my pancreas. Yeah. Anyway, it's okay.
definitely tell you're a dad.
I know exactly.
Sorry, it's the lamest idea ever.
Yeah,
So-
but the names are quite good here. Barking, right?
You
Oh, it's
said the
lovely.
fans.
They get some pretty
Barking.
fun.
You said that the people that commented in our videos, that if they were all street names.
That's
then
right.
we can make
I
it
find
sound-
that my thing is like all the YouTube names should be street names, you know, like Malefixia and
PJ.
the
Venn.
Dude, and they'd be great names for streets, you know. Just take the YouTube names, all the
Why not?
user handle,
It's
and
like
just make
turn
a
left on
village.
human.
Take left on Human, go down Malefixia, you know,
Yeah.
and then turn right on Emma Drive. I know Emma's probably listening. I have one fan. Anyway, never mind.
Super
You have,
Swansea.
and that is a very, very good segue because now we're kind of getting to the crux of what 3 years ago you discovered that actually Lexonal maybe has the coolest ad ever to existed, and be the original incarnation of Albert Wesker. So
Right.
talk us through that.
I mean, like what the actual how it became, or our channels and stuff, or what? What do you
Well,
wanna
just how you kind of discovered that actually my role back in some obscure role back in the mid-90s was has got a cult following, and then obviously your development with Lexonal.
Yeah, I mean, just it's actually an ongoing thing, right? I mean, the more that we're playing this game, the more I'm beginning to, first of all, understand the story, right? This is such a complicated story, you know? Like, who is this guy? And, oh, is he actually a double agent? And anyway, so learning the story, but it's through the feedback, right, from our channels. Because I had a YouTube channel that I started off when I was, you know, it was like in 2000.
That was 2007.
Something like that. And my kids were
If
saying,
you
how
did
many of subs do you have? And I was like, subs? What was a sub? You know, I didn't even know. And then I looked and it was like, how many? Like,
700.
did I have 700?
Yeah.
That's over so many years. I didn't do anything, you know. And now I decided, okay, we'll just do these videos. And now we're at almost 1,800, right? So they got 1,000 in just really a short period of time. But it's just a lot of fun just to, first of all, as you become a parent, you know, like you care about your kids, but you also want to try and get some kind of time in there too. Like, and also they have their own rooms, you know, and they vanish to their proper little dwelling for hours on end. And this was, it was kind of a happy accident that we just sort of said, you know, like he sort of showed an interest in
It's what you do
computers
when
and
you
things,
get
right?
older, you know, you just stay in your room. It's
Exactly,
your
you know.
territory.
So I said, oh well, why don't we kind of kill two birds with one stone? Get him into editing. So he does all the editing for the videos. Lexonal does. He's all in Premiere Pro, and he's like learning all. You know, he's interested in it. I could tell. You know, so it's like
Very
boom, boom,
private.
boom.
How old are you, Lexonal?
12.
12.
Using Premiere Pro at 12. Oh my god.
No, he's
Impressive.
like he's like and he's like going through it, and I'm like, it's great. I can tell because I
If you
did all this
understand the
website design in the
basics,
back. I
it's
know what
not hard.
all the Adobe products. I've seen people play with it, and I'm like, okay, let's go back a bit here and there, and so I'm
But
directing
I'm
a little
not
bit.
like the best yet. I don't know how to do all this After Effects stuff yet, but I'll get.
In
But
time,
no,
my
but
friend.
he is a
When
lot.
I'm
He
older,
he
like,
is
I'll be
quite.
quite good at that stuff.
Yeah, no, he's quite good at it now. Honestly, he's clip,
And working on
ripple
the
delete,
typing speed.
ripple delete.
But the benefit, Lexonal, is, and what you do have is time.
Mm.
You have time to invest in this. You've got, aside from schoolwork, of course, and all
Yeah,
that
of
fun
course,
stuff.
of course,
Yeah, go to school. Yeah, but you have absolute time on your hands to learn. And what I feel now, editing 20 years ago versus editing now it's come on bounds and bounds and bounds.
No.
And who knows where you'll be in 20 years, Lexonal. You might be. You might be an obscure voice actor from the 90s that's made a resurgence.
Exactly, with his own kid, his own baby.
So how did that come about? Just how did you discover that you were that you were Albert Wesker, and actually that this is a big deal?
It was it really was through that I was introducing my first sword on YouTube. I went on my YouTube channel. I was introducing my first proper wakizashi from mid 1600s, and it was a comment in there. It is rumored that you are the voice actor of Albert Wesker. Is it true? Is it you? And I was like,
not me, mate.
What are you talking about?
My first comment in like 20 years.
Exactly. Nobody's actually commented on my videos because I was just like, but I said, what is this? And then I looked it up. I did a copy and paste Albert Wesker, and I was like, and then bang, and then. I wasn't sure whether this was a good thing or not, right? Because there's everybody making fun of the acting and so on and so forth. But then I realized, wow, this one particular character seems to be, well loved, and everybody loves the bad guy kind of thing. And I've been trying to figure out like what's the deal with that, right? I think, and why? Because I think, and it's easier to understand the bad guy. It's easy. If I were to say to you, like, do some evil stuff to that guy, right? You will probably come up with like 5 or 6 right away. I'm going to either, get a knife, gun. It's easy to be evil in a sense, right? But if I said do 5 or 6 good things for that other person, right? You'd be like thinking like, okay, well, I could.
What constitutes a good thing?
Yeah, what's a good thing, right? Like it's not
property,
easy, right? But a bad thing, we can just right away. Okay, we get it. We know where this guy's coming from, and it's just an easier character to understand, I think, and I find it really fascinating that, and his character itself, and it's a happy accident as well that when I did the role, I didn't realize really that I'm sort of fooling people at the beginning, and then they discover that I'm actually not on their side, and that was one of the nicest comments that I had received, and why people actually liked my character, I think, is because, or at least the way that I portrayed the character, is they genuinely thought I was a good guy, and they genuinely were surprised that I was a bad guy at the end of the game, right? I was shocked, and the number of people saying like I could not believe you were actually like that you were a bad guy. I can't believe that, and so that was. And so I felt good in the sense that because if I came out saying like, oh no, don't open, like with that sort of villainous voice, which you hear now with like some of the later versions of Wesker, that that they're a bad guy. Like you can actually, some movies you go like, oh, that guy's clearly the bad guy. Like from scene 1, act 1, that's a bad guy.
Yeah.
Whereas, and I'm happy to say that people didn't clock in that I was, because I'm like over the top, don't open that door, and like people didn't realize I was a bad guy. So. That's
just saying. I really like the background of the
it looks good actually. Yeah. I like the lighter actually. It looks good.
It has the herbs and the keys. And
that's good. Did you draw all of that?
We've got we had an artist,
an art director. Yeah.
But
it's great stuff.
Definitely on brand.
Yeah, definitely on brand.
Definitely on brand.
But it's it's just it's a game that keeps on kind of giving, and I can see that how deep the game goes, and I've just. When I say deep, meaning that the puzzles and there's a thickness to the story, there's a thickness to to the the villains that you have to encounter in the game. And I like it. I mean, I generally, because I'm sitting there as a kind of a passive viewer, like I'm not playing the game, I'm just watching him going. And so I'm noticing things probably that he's not noticing. He's focusing on the bad guy. I love these camera effects, these top down shots that they have. And it's like, everything's very clever, and it's like,
it's voyeuristic, really. It's like
actually,
the CCTV cameras in a
that's
way.
right. That's right. Yeah.
And have you played through? You've played through Jill's campaign.
The whole time. We know
So
everything.
almost
Yeah, the camera angle.
subconsciously, the way I think it's almost like Wesker's watching the characters
right.
the entire time.
That's right.
In my opinion.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's almost like he's at at a computer and he's like following along, right? And that's exactly how it feels. And so you're engrossed into the game.
Like games nowadays, you're following the character where you go, but because like you step somewhere and then it's a different angle, it's like, oh my god, you know there's a zombie there, and I'm just like going really slowly. It's like, oh, and then,
Yeah.
Well, if you really enjoy Resident Evil 1,
Yeah.
you are in. If you ever play Resident Evil 2, you're in for the absolute thrill ride of your life, because that is
apparently
what
it's
many
like
people.
has more, like it's just more intense and has more monsters than that, I guess.
It's where Resident Evil 1 is. It's always had this kind of cheesy kind of B movie vibe to it. They went a lot more Hollywood with the second one, and again, it's actually set in Raccoon City, like while the outbreak was happening. And a lot of people consider the original Resident Evil 2 to be the best game in the series. So, I know we kind of spoke off air that you intend to play at least the original trilogy. Obviously, it take forever to play all of them, but at least the original trilogy. I would really recommend you play Resident Evil 2.
The only thing I know about Raccoon City,
definitely going to do that. Definitely going to do that.
The only thing I know about Raccoon City is there was a nuke and then there were zombies and rats.
Exactly. That's how you eradicate it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, they eradicated, right?
The nuke at the end.
I did that. I did that Wesker's report. Somebody asked me to, like, Fred, good guy. We're getting to know these the people that are always commenting and stuff. It's quite cool. But Fred had me do the Wesker's report, but I would do that probably maybe even better job now that I know the story, and I maybe I'll reread it. I don't know. Well, but I remember saying like the kind of the bombing of things, and like you get to know it, and when you know it, and it's like, oh, it's an understanding. It's cool, like you that's why there's something different about, I don't know how many games people have such a, with Resident Evil, the franchise is so popular. I'm not sure how many other games have such a following as this, but there's a breadth of character to the game that, I don't know. It's a special something. It's a special sauce going on here that I'm just growing into. I mean, I know you've made a life part out of this in a sense, and you probably wonder like why sometimes, like, what is it about this game? I asked Matt, like, what is it? And he's like, wow, and it's hard to put your finger on it, right? It's hard.
It's the itch. What I would describe it as, like again, I was born in 1995, so
okay.
I played Resident Evil when I was like 5. I didn't play it. I watched my parents play it, and then I watched them play the first. I watched all my uncles play the first Resident Evil. Then watched my parents play the second one. They actually sent me to my grandparents' house while they completed Code Veronica over a weekend. Right. It was that sort of thing. And the way I've always kind of looked at it is like throughout my life, things have changed. Like you go to, from, I've grown to a boy to a man. I've changed jobs. But one thing that was always constant was Resident Evil. It's always been there in some capacity. And I suppose change. Yeah, it's the emotional. It's almost the emotional connection. And from a nostalgia point of view, it was a simpler time back then. We didn't have any of all of this.
Right,
we didn't have all this like social media, and we can't even like, for example, the new film's just come out and people had already posted reviews of it, and people say, oh, I'm not going to go watch it. You didn't necessarily have that like in the 90s. It was, oh, let's rent this game, let's see what it's like.
Right.
Like it's such a simple time, and I think the game reflects that. You
prefer to play the earlier games than the newer ones? I don't know. Do you find yourself playing the 1 and 2 and 3 a lot, or like? Still?
Yeah, 1, 2, and 3. A lot of my community are a huge original Resident, because Resident Evil is such a diverse it's taken the series in so many different directions, not just survival, but kind of more action and stuff like that.
Right.
But yeah, definitely the original. Actually, the eye that's above your head is from the original Resident Evil, like your Resident Evil.
Oh, is that
Resident
right?
Evil.
Oh,
yeah,
right.
it's the box art, it's the eye.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
eye.
I was always.
It's like
I
paying
was always a
attention,
big
right?
fan.
The eye is there, like the eye. You have the eye of Horus. Like you pay attention. You got to look out, right? This is the thing. This is for me. It's like it's a game of life. To me, that's what's going on with this thing. It's like you are taking control. I had an interview in some Game Rant. It was on Game Rant. And I spoke about this kind of like taking responsibility, that you're actually taking responsibility for your actions. What do you trust this person? Do you not trust this person? Do you do this? Do you do that? You're in charge. You're going to get out of this or not get out of this, but it's up to you. And I think this abdication of responsibility is a kind of a problem now in society. Like if you take more responsibility, and this, and I really got that when I moved here. I think when you have kids and it's like, okay, all right, I can't blame this person for this error when it's my fault. Like there's a lot of way too much blame game kind of going on. And so like, if you can you take more responsibility for your actions. And I think RE does that, right? I mean, you can't just say, oh, you play for me or something. It's like, it's a game, so you do it, right?
Your actions have consequences.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
And the game encapsulates that for sure, definitely. And it's clever, right? There's puzzles, and there's puzzles in life, right? I mean, if I call this person now and talk to this person,
or you could just go into YouTube and find the answer.
Right? But we're trying not to do that, right? And
Indeed,
your conscience is saying, "Do you want
path.
to do this?" Your conscience is saying, "Like, I don't think you should go to YouTube."
Yeah, when you do so much, you're like,
like,
I'm gonna keep doing this on myself. Actually.
But I can't get into this friggin' V-jolt room. Come on, what's the 3-number combination? This is ridiculous.
I am glad that you've taken this in your stride in a way, because it must have been quite a shock. A shock, really. Like, wow, I played an iconic character for so many years, and I almost didn't even realize it.
Yeah, well, it's and I'm like, there was a point where I was thinking, do I want to embrace this or not? Like when I found out this is it, and I went, there's something to this. I got to just, get out there and talk about it, and then immediately, all that sort of what I thought might be negative publicity, because like, not negative publicity is kind of the wrong word, but like, because a lot of people were like, they would have like these things rating the different Wesker actors over the years, and I was always like, either second to last or the last, or like it was always like DC Douglas or whatever and then, but whether they're being kind to me or not, but now that I've talked about this and I'm doing these videos with Lexonal, people are kind of going, I know people say it's B movie-esque and everything, but actually, you're always going to be my favorite Wesker, because you're the first one, and it's nice to hear that, and
when people think of Albert Wesker, they should think of you, actually.
Well, I'm not acting, I'm not trying to act. I mean, I'm acting, but anyway, it's kind of me, actually. There's a lot of anyway, it's not a put on voice, really. And it's fun. It's a great surprise, and I told my my parents, and they're just like, the whole Japan thing for them was probably a bit like, what's this guy doing over there for so many years? Like, and now he's done this. What else? Like, what
else? Yeah.
What is this? How do we, they're 80, like, how are we supposed to process this Albert Wesker stuff, But anyway, it's been a great run, and I mean, fun. I mean, and it just gives us 3 hours every Saturday or so, 3 or 4 hours together. Some dads are going to take the kid football or frisbee or whatever it is. If they do,
exactly.
We're doing this, and and I, because I'm at home. Resident Evil, already sport, but he just loves the computers. He loves the editing, and I could see he's efficient. It just like he loves it. So,
and it's going to be useful for the future.
Exactly. I think I mean, that editing thing is fantastic. I mean, are you? But just on a software note, Andy, do you edit a lot? Do you Photoshop, all that kind of stuff, or do you kind of hire that? How does that work for you?
So I've got a degree in media. So I went to university to do all of this. So
oh wow,
a lot of like the Photoshop and all the editing is mostly in house. It's only really like I'm not really an artist, so it's that sort of thing we need to kind of outsource.
Yeah, That's great. I mean, and so because I was talking about that, I mean, he's only 12, but like in the future, maybe there'll be like places where you will be able to get with the, the little dots in the face, the animations and stuff. No, I mean, I you would think like some of the higher learning places would have access to technology that maybe you wouldn't be able to afford, but they get one machine or two machines that are high end that you can learn on. Is that what happens here? Do you know?
I'm imagining, especially I imagine universities would have that 100%.
Like big green
100%.
screen rooms where like they're just animation studio kind of stuff where you can really get into the
I mean,
into it, no?
obviously, I appreciate Lexonal's only 12, but
yeah
6 years in 6 years, Lexonal, you've got to make choices. You've got to make choices. Do you want to go to university? You want to get an apprenticeship?
Yeah.
And in the UK especially, I think we're quite liberal when it comes to like the way we do university. So
yeah, that's right.
When you're in university, do you get like tested on like Photoshop and like
so I learned
Premiere Pro and that?
Yeah, so I learned.
It's a good question. Like how do you learn
do they
from
test
media?
you on all other like softwares or just
So I when I was at university, I studied at Maidstone Studios in Maidstone, obviously. And I learned back. I mean, this was like 2013, 2014. So I learned Final Cut Pro on Mac. I kind of had surface level knowledge of Adobe anyway, and then kind of Photoshop you kind of pick up as you go along. But there was this great site called that I used to use called lynda.com. And that was kind of like, it was almost like, it's kind of like YouTube, but it's more premium because it's more focused on educating people. I know there's stuff like Skillshare now. I know a lot of people use Skillshare. But yeah, it's a fundamental tool. But the Premiere, and it's easier than ever. I mean, when I was at university, you had to buy Photoshop, and it was like $400. Then you had to buy Premiere. That was $400. But now you can just get everything at once. It's like $40 a month. It's crazy.
That's right. Yeah, it's crazy, right? The whole suite, rent everything, right? Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what jobs is there going to be in 20 years? I suppose
I know, right?
Going to be the one to tell us.
But you got to think like the whole video stuff is going to continue going big time. You got to think, right? I mean, how could that not, continue? So,
$1 billion.
But I, what's your take on the whole VR stuff? I mean, I'm a bit wary, but like this whole headset stuff and losing yourself in the metaverse and all that. I mean, are you embracing it?
Well, we tried it. We tried it 20 years ago, 25 years ago with like the Virtual Boy, which was like Nintendo's. And it was poorly implemented back then. I think it's the best it's probably ever going to be right now. I just think the tech is still, we're nearly there. We're at the absolute cusp, but the tech is still not there to be viable. I mean, and plus you do need a lot of space. And I've got an Oculus Quest 2 down here.
But do you like it? I mean, do you like I guess I'm just genuinely, maybe I'm just showing my age here, but I'm genuinely a little bit concerned that people are going to be just lost in this. Like I saw some video. I saw this YouTube video today. It said, "Is this too realistic?" And it was a guy with a gun, and he was running around, and it was like, that you felt like the guy was there, and the blood was real, and it was all very like, oh, I don't know, this is good. It does feel a bit
like there was this great film that, well, I say it's a great film. It's pretty mediocre. It had Bruce Willis in it, and it was called Surrogates. And it was basically people didn't leave the house. They got into this pod. And then they kind of they used effectively like a surrogate body, like in a theory, like a clone. And then they kind of went to work and did everything. And it's kind of like VR. We're almost going to get to a point where we're just going to put this headset on and just escape into a world and kind of not be ourselves. I know Japanese culture's kind of a lot like that, where you can have like virtual girlfriends and stuff like that. And I think it's just like the Westerners are kind of assimilating to that, really.
Exactly. I'm not sure whether that, like, I think that'll probably be pretty big in Japan and Asian countries, but I don't know. I'm a little bit concerned that people are going to just like gone, like not just in their room, but in a different zone. Right. I don't know.
Yeah.
That'll be step by step on that one.
Yeah.
Step by step.
I mean, I'm imagining in sort of 14 years, Lexonal's probably going to be posing the same questions that I am about whatever the next technology is going to be.
That's right.
Smell or something like that.
Does anybody have any of your friends have it? Have like the Oculus stuff or what?
Not many. Probably like a few in my.
It's still quite a niche market.
It is, yeah, right, okay, yeah.
But in
still
time,
like
when it
screen
becomes
though.
affordable.
Yeah,
I'd
right.
have thought.
But even even if it is affordable, is it good?
But
Is it
parents
right?
know that they don't want their kid like going into VR when they're like only my age.
I hope
Right.
so. I don't know. I hope parents are a little bit.
Well, and then there's some like
Yeah, I don't know.
parents that just don't really care.
I don't know. I'm concerned. Anyway, we'll see.
One thing that I know you mentioned, you did like a Wesker's report.
That's right.
Now I've been the size I am. We've grown all these contacts over the time that we've been established, and there's actually people that modify original Resident Evil games and create their own stories in Resident Evil effectively. And one of my friends, Aidan Watkins, he's a really prolific modder. Has made he's made and I'll send it to you because it's a very good modification, very easy to install. He's made how Wesker gets out of the mansion in the original Resident Evil 1 engine, and it's you play as Wesker, and I can't quite tell you because you haven't played Chris's campaign what happens, but you play as Wesker and it shows him escaping from the mansion.
You
and
actually
it's
played the
all
whole
in
game
engine.
as Wesker? No.
Yeah, it's like a half an hour, 45-minute experience, but it's all in engine, and I think that'd be obviously for you really cool. But something that he was talking to me on the weekend. He said, "Oh, please ask Pablo. Like, I appreciate he hasn't acted as Wesker in sort of 20 years or 25 years or so, but would that be something that you would be open to? Maybe do a couple of
doing
lines?
doing some lines for him. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the original.
Yeah. It'll probably sound great. Let's do it. Yeah. Just give me the lines and I'll record it here, and no problem for
Not
it.
that hard to record, is it? Just
No. I
say
mean,
it.
just like that'll be a lot of fun.
But plus now you're kind of learning the lore around
Well, now I know what he's
Wesker.
like.
You're going to be better informed.
I think I would deliver it in different. Well, I mean, I don't know. It'll be different in some way for sure. Now that I know more about the character and stuff, I think it'd be fun. Yeah, it'd be great.
Indeed. Anyway, enough about you, Pablo. We're here to talk about Lexonal.
Yes. Okay.
We're here to talk about the main event. So Lexonal, what's going on? What's going on with your YouTube channel, and where do you see it growing to?
We said we'll talk about this earlier, that we want to get all the Resident Evil people on our channel in hopefully by Resident Evil 3, and then we have because we have quite a strong fan base already, like strong fans.
It's growing.
And if we could just get I don't know, like 10,000 people and then go on to different things, and hopefully they stay with us and build a bigger fan base, and that's how it's going to go, I guess.
I think we're touching on something with
I don't really know
that sort of retro stuff, right?
Resident Evil.
Yeah, we have a plan. We have a plan for Resident Evil. Well,
I'll be
1
for
for
the
Chris,
next,
and then 2.
Half a year.
By the way, when we play Resident Evil 2, can you play different characters? Of course, I assume, right?
Yeah.
Who can you play in Resident Evil 2, and which ones do you recommend actually?
So I would you've got Claire and Leon. So there's four campaigns in Resident Evil 2. So in the first Resident Evil there's 2, but in Resident Evil 2 there's 4.
Wow.
So there's an A, they call it the A scenario, and this is why Resident Evil 2 is so good. There's an A scenario and a B scenario. Each character has an A and a B scenario.
Oh.
So I would recommend playing as Leon, because a lot of people, when it was on the original PlayStation, it was on 2 discs. Resident Evil 2 was on 2 discs. And the first disc was always Leon's campaign. And then the second disc is Claire. They are pretty much identical. Obviously, there's nuances with the characters. But start off with Leon. When you complete Leon's campaign, you'll save Leon's A campaign.
Yeah.
You'll save the game, and it will come up with Claire's B scenario. And what it does is Claire's campaign, that B scenario is what Claire was doing while Leon was doing what he was doing. It's very, very clever. Like, you will pick something up in your A scenario that now you can't pick up in your B scenario because you picked it up in your A scenario. It's a very unique experience. And
Do these characters
replayability.
Well, there's not much connection between Jill and Chris and the whole thing, like in Resident Evil 1.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there is, because in Resident Evil 1, and again, there's a bit of nuance with Barry and Rebecca, there's nuances in the story, but ultimately, you both kind of head to the same goal. Claire and Leon actually do meet multiple times in the game, which
is that right?
And the choices that you make will affect, like, you might pick up a submachine gun, for example, in Leon's campaign, or you might go, do you know what? I'm not going to pick that up now, and it's in, and then when you come back and play as Claire, it's there. Like, it's
I see.
it's
Right.
so much replayability.
It leads on.
really
That's
is.
actually quite cool.
So we would do
So you play Leon's campaign, and
Like,
then
RE1 is just save, and that's what happens.
right. Yeah. So
Just save.
go ahead, Andy. So you play you play Leon, and then you play.
yeah, you can play Leon's A scenario, and then when you play Claire, you'll save, and then it will say Claire B. But that's different from if you clicked New Game Claire, because that would be Claire's A scenario. You'll know when it's B scenario because you don't even start in the same place. That's how you know it's different.
Oh, I see. Okay.
You completely start, like, without going into too much detail, you crash a car and both of you start at two different points. So you'll be like, oh my God, I'm going to the police station and I'm in a completely different area.
Wait, so you're in the same car, and you just happen to fall out like 100 meters each side or something.
Yeah.
Effectively,
Yeah.
The way I would kind of explain it to you is like, say if Jill and Chris were both going to the mansion, it's almost like one person started at the main entrance and then the other character started off at the guardhouse. And they've got the puzzles are slightly remixed when you started in the guardhouse, because obviously you're experiencing it from a different area. But it is ultimately the best Resident Evil by far.
I see. Okay. Okay.
Resident Evil set the precedent. Resident Evil 1 set the precedent, and then Resident Evil 2 just took it to another level.
Totally different level, right? And so we'll.
That's exciting to hear.
Yeah. So going on to what for your channel, right? So we'll do. I guess we have a relatively clear path for the RE1.
RE1 remake, and then RE2, RE3.
Oh yeah, do we do the RE1 remake, or maybe after Resident Evil 2? Maybe.
I would recommend, because to get a real appreciation of the remake, what I would say is do the original trilogy, because Resident Evil 1 came out in 1996, Resident Evil 2 came out in 1998, Resident Evil 3 came out in 1999. So they're the kind of the original trilogy.
I see. Wow,
then
bang.
Yeah. And then, Capcom didn't mess around in the late 90s.
They were really working hard to get that one, right? They realized how big this is, and they went mental, right? Just coding like crazy. Wow.
All the designing, all the maps.
Well, it's not easy to do that, right? Wow. They realized they had a hit on their hands, so they wanted to go for it. Right?
Well, yeah, when you have something big, just make it bigger.
Well, that's the point, right?
The
a lot of things don't
have
succeed.
Money, they get more money.
Yeah, that's right.
If with no money, you don't get money.
But also, now you've played Resident Evil 1, when you play the remade version of Resident Evil 1, you'll gain not only appreciation for the original, what they achieved, but also how to really do a remade game. Because when you remake a game, you don't remake it to make the game worse. You want to remake it to make the game better, and you'll play it and you'll be like, well, the mansion is the same, but it's very, very different.
Yeah, that's right. I saw how
it's very smart.
Tactile and something really good. And then I don't know, like building your channel. I guess we're gonna do other games, other retro games. I remember doing some games when I was like in the 80s, like some of those Nintendo games and stuff.
Mario.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wonder if the fan base will be interested in seeing. I think the commentary that I'm doing while he's playing adds something, So it's like experiencing the old game, but then also me just chatting along with him.
We can make community posts now, so
exactly, yeah. And just chatting along and then talking about anything. Like I just talk about the weather, and people seem to chill out getting a beer. I have some couple of clients who say, "Time to go and watch an hour and a half of RE1, gameplay," and then they'll just get a beer and listen to us just chat away. And it's a little bit like baseball. I'm not sure if you've ever watched baseball, like the sport of baseball. It's a little bit like cricket. It's a slower game. And so he's shooting, but there's a lot of like running around, and there's not, so it's a little bit like baseball in the sense, like when the pitcher actually throws a pitch, that's a little bit like encountering a zombie. And so I got to talk about him shooting the zombie. But while he's going through the mansion and he's not encountering anything, I might just talk about how I've planted roses in the backyard or something like that, and and just like kind of fill the time. But it's like, but it's exactly like baseball. It's what they do. It's like it's a 1-0, it's a 1-1 pitch, it's a strike. And it's a beautiful day out here. It's 25 degrees, and the guy's just talking like crap, But it's a little bit like that.
But this is the most beautiful thing is that like I didn't like when I was playing Resident Evil with I remember playing Resident Evil 3 with my dad and being like, I was like, Dad, you do it. I'm scared. Like, like obviously Lexonal's not necessarily going to do that, but what you two will eventually appreciate, and I'm sure you appreciate it now, is like. These aren't just like cool videos you're doing. As a father and son, you two are creating memories.
That's right.
When and this is why I think people are so attached to it, because they see you two and they think, "Damn, that was me and my dad." In the late 90s.
That's right.
You know, around the CRT, like the humming TV.
Who else is doing this now? Right. Like, we're the only people.
Well, I'm sure there's a few other people.
But like, not like us.
But this unique, because you two are effectively playing it. And you've never played it before,
That's right. It's all new, and people. We're not trying to cheat, and people.
The fact that we haven't played it before, and it's been like 25 years. People are like, oh, new people. That's quite cool, actually.
Actually, people, because it's so much speedrun stuff right now, right? People have seen like
sub 40 minutes.
Yeah, no, Matt RPD. Huge shout out to Matt RPD. Matt RPD is a very exceptional runner of Resident Evil.
Yeah, he's so fast, and so it was fun to be on.
Yeah, the guy we were interviewed, he was interviewing us, and it got like a 39:20.
Oh, that's right. I was on this FLG for the Love of Gaming marathon.
This guy was called that one Vensor or something.
Yeah, Evensor. Anyway, he did it in like in 38 minutes while we were chatting. Like I was like, "What, dude? Like 13 hours to 30."
It's absurd. It's absurd.
Amazing, but I think we'll just try to keep that retro feel. Do you like that idea? Keep the retro feel, going for other older games, kind of like a little bit of a.
I feel like older games just have more character. If I'm on it, if and I'm 26, like
really,
you
feel that way. You think even when you're 10 years from now, you'll probably appreciate RE1 even more. I would.
Yeah,
think.
no, I'm like even Resident Evil games come out a few years ago. They just. And again, you can make the argument it is a bit nostalgia, but
sure,
you just have this connection with the original series. My community has this connection with the original series. It just it unlocks our minds to a happy and simpler time ultimately.
Star Wars. What's your experience with Star Wars? Because I'm older than you, but like for me, Star Wars, the trilogy, right? That I haven't seen any. I saw one, right? I just couldn't do it though. Like all these other new versions of Star Wars. What I'm trying to say here is there's kind of a connection between Star Wars and Resident Evil in one way, because Star Wars, Raider, Empire Strikes Back, and The Last Jedi. These are the first three. The first three. That was so. I could watch that over and over again, right? And
it's exactly the same thing.
The same feeling, right? Like, you just, because when it came out in 79, so I was like 8 when I saw Star Wars, right?
Damn, 8 years old.
I was 8, but I was like, and I went to the cinema to see Empire Strikes Back, and I remember like being in the lineup with so many people.
Oh my God,
that was crazy. I'm only like 11.
I hate cinema.
I was like, 10, 11 or something like that. Anyway, and then that was, and so and people will still watch that, So I think this will be. Yeah, I don't know, the hyper realistic stuff. It's like we already have hyper realistic stuff. It's like I don't know, like I
totally get what you're saying.
The games have to be so real. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
But also Resident and what you'll grow and appreciate is that Resident Evil, like between I'd say 2007 and sort of 20, like for that 10-year cycle between 2007 and 2017, it wasn't. Fans were frustrated because it wasn't the Resident Evil that we wanted it to be. They headed more towards like a traditional action game with horror elements. Like they forgot about the puzzles. They forgot about these unique characters. They forgot about the fixed camera angles. They forgot about the horror, the item management. Do you shoot these enemies or do you dodge, run away? That sort of thing.
This is exactly what I mean about right. And what I mentioned earlier on about like this kind of life experience, right? you're getting away from life, right? Where life is full of puzzles. And do you do this? Do you not do this? Do I make, do I go to this university for 2 years or not? Like, I know it's maybe a stretch, to some degree, but RE1, at least so far for us, and I know 2 and 3 are going to be the same way. It's encapsulating genuine sort of puzzles that resonate, right? When it's just like shoot 'em up, and lack of puzzles, it's like that's not really life anymore. It's just a game, and it's not. We're not just playing a game here. We're playing an adventure. We're taking responsibility of this show, and when you lose that, then it's hard to describe why you don't like the other one, but it's not mimicking life is what I'm trying to say, because it's like the Harry Potter stuff, right? Why are people so interested in Harry Potter? It's because it's touching us in a kind of in a very deep way, like it captures the hero's journey and all that stuff.
As well. The
music, but it's so many elements that come together. And I don't know all the films and all that, but the storyline, the characters, they hit a part that everybody feels, and that's what Ari has done, in that first one. It's a cocktail that works, right? And when the cocktail is too much vodka and not enough of the other stuff, then it's not complex enough, It's just a shot, and it's like, it's not deep enough, Something like
I mean, the fact that we're doing this just shows the cultural impact that the first Resident Evil did have, and the characters that it did. I mean, you could argue, that it was a very particular representation of kind of B-movie horror in a way. It just shows the impact. Some of the most iconic lines from Resident Evil are delivered by yourself, and Barry and what have you. What is this? And,
what is this? I love how he just keeps going. What? Like what was that Plant 42 thing where he's like, he shoots it, he fires it up, and he goes, "What the hell is this?
What the hell is this thing anyway?"
So funny how he does that, right? It's like, just what is this? And he's all pissed off, and like, I don't understand,
He's more angry than like
confused. He's just like
angry.
Keeps on saying the same line over time, like blood, But no, it's been a lot of fun. I'm looking forward, to this, and then another, and connecting with the people, with the fans that are just watching, and I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking requests, like questions, from what people want me to talk about while this guy is playing, because it's like just so many hours of just sitting down, just like this, exactly like this. Just sitting down and him playing is great,
And you've got options as well. I mean, I would, if I was you two, I'd probably stick with the format that you have, where it's kind of 3 hours, and then obviously Lexonal goes in and editing. Because my fear with live streaming is people tend to comment and kind of, they don't intentionally mean to do it, but it's a known thing in streaming called backseating, where people are kind of telling you what to do, and you're like, just let me enjoy the game, like just. So where it's between you two, do you get what I mean?
There? Oh, I see.
Yeah, do you get what I mean? So like, I remember I played a recent Resident Evil, and someone in the comments went, "Make sure you save all your ammo for the next bit because you're gonna need it." And you're like,
right.
Just like I want to enjoy this for myself. So you two have still got that kind of pure experience. Again, if you did stream it. If you did stream it, it would be a massive hit, and you would get a lot of interaction out of it. But you also risk kind of the purity of being just you two.
We're not going to stream.
If we ever did stream in the future, probably be on the game we've already done.
Yeah, I think that it would be just more of a fun thing to kind of talk about. I like the idea of us going in there. People do make comments though. People do make comments and say, like you just said, like the ammo, and some people say like, okay.
PSX Mania.
PSX Mania. We have a few guys that just say the whole thing. 1845. He has all the different points. Like you missed. You didn't hear the beat from
all the combinations of code that you can do.
but they do say like you have the comments, you can read more, and then you get the whole thing. So if you don't read more, and so a lot of them, I'll see the first line, and I realize that person is trying to help us, and I'll just I'll ignore it. I'll do this and look at the next one. So I don't, because I'm trying to, and we're trying to not cheat in a sense, but it's that purity that we'll do. And then I don't know. People talk about other games as well. We can talk about that. Like if there's any people that love RE1 or RE, for example, like, is there like other games that people, I heard something about like a Village thing. What's Village? What's this Village?
So Village is the most recent Resident Evil.
Oh,
So
it is Resident Evil. Okay, all right.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah,
right.
Village Resident Evil.
But is there another a non-Capcom, or maybe it is Capcom? Like is there other
one game that people always talk about that's kind of in the same vein as Resident Evil is Silent Hill.
Oh, that's right. I have heard that. Yeah.
So
is that good?
So that's kind of It's a very it's more psychological horror rather than kind of traditional survival horror.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's a very good game. It's very critically acclaimed, and I would definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
There's a really fun game actually called. I played it with my brother a few years ago, and it's called Obscure, and it's basically it's a 2-player. It's exactly like Resident Evil. It's got that kind of fixed camera angle, but it's set in a college, and you play as these like typical like American like college students, and it's just so goofy and over the top. But it's got that kind of collect puzzles, collect ammo. Do puzzles, collect ammo. It's called Obscure.
Obscure. Okay. All right.
It's pretty unique, and of course, I wouldn't be a Resident Evil fan without saying Dino Crisis.
Dino Crisis. Okay.
Dino Crisis is. And quite literally, it was made by Capcom in the late 90s, and it's even got it on the box that it is basically Resident Evil dinosaurs.
So Obscure and Dino Crisis are 1990s games, is that right?
Yeah, well, Obscure's like 2005 or something like that. But Dino Crisis is late 90s. And then, of course, just you got Resident Evil 0, which is, I know. That's got Wesker in it. It's a prequel to Resident Evil 1, and it details what Rebecca was doing before she got into the mansion.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right. Well, that's
quite cool.
Yeah.
Where'd she come from anyway? She just like
she just sort of like she pepper sprayed you.
Why didn't you just
she had some cloud in that with Chris came in and it was like Rebecca.
When you think about it,
whoa, what is it?
What did she spray? She sprayed some perfume to the guy or something.
He was perfectly fine afterwards.
Yeah. It's just like, what is that? Yeah.
They could just delete Resident Evil 0 and get her to tell us what happened in the actual game. Now.
Exactly.
Save like a whole
Where were you?
20 years.
Hi, Rebecca. Let's go for it. Let's go for a drink together.
Every Resident Evil's got its own unique experience, and I'd say as at least as a baseline kind of datum, definitely play 1, 2, and 3 because they're absolutely.
Yeah, we're gonna do it, and then we're gonna do Leon. We'll do Claire, and then is Chris and Jill in there too? You said there's 2 more. Is that what they are, or is 2 others?
No, it's just it's still Leon and Claire, but it's just the A and B.
The A B
scenario.
thing. Okay, sorry.
Okay, it's just the other way around.
So Chris and Jill presumably come back at some point, or what? No, in Resident Evil 3.
Jill comes back in Resident Evil 3.
So I see.
Resident Evil 3 is it's Jill escaping Raccoon City after just that's where the infamous nuke scene comes from.
Oh, okay, all right.
Is Resident Evil 3.
Boom! I love it. I love it.
It just snowballs from there. There's just
I think what we're gonna do. We're gonna just focus on it, and just the commentary. Just as long as we're having fun, and if the client, if everybody else is having fun, and these community posts are kind of fun to do and ask, right? And say like, what do you think? Where should we go next? And
I feel like it'd be cool if Resident Evil 3 had the scene where in Resident Evil 1 where you get on the helicopter and you escape from the explosion.
Yeah.
If that was recreated again.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of helicopters I've noticed, right? They're always using a helicopter in this. They love choppers.
That scene,
have a helicopter station.
Yeah.
That scene is definitely not in Resident Evil 3. Escaping the city in a helicopter.
No,
that's very very good prediction, Lexonal. I think you're really on something.
That's awesome.
Theory channel now.
But Lexonal, are you having fun doing all of the kind of reliving these experiences? Living these new experiences with your dad, because you have a very unique. You're in a very unique position here.
Yeah, I enjoy Resident Evil. It's like it's different to every game. It's like it's still new for me, like everyone else,
And what's it like working with your dad? Is it weird? Is it like cheesy?
I don't think of it as cheesy, really.
No?
I
Is
just
it
do it.
Do your friends make any comments? They said like, I know your dad looks like, I don't know. What do your high school friends say? No, because it's kind of weird, right? Because I know, right? I mean, like, what do they say?
They at school, like I'm there, and then some of my friends just shout out my channel name, and it's like Lexonal. It's like, I'm like, shut up, bro. It's like,
It's bro stuff. There's so much bro. But yeah, I don't know. But it's that's whole grade 8. It's kind of fun, right? I'd like asking him. I mean, because there was one comment actually. I must admit, I did like this comment. It's like, well, my dad's a doctor. So, well, yeah. Well, my dad's a lawyer. Well, my dad's Albert Wesker. That's what somebody said. And it's like, dude, this is like the best. Like just say that to everybody. Like anyway, it's just
you've got the absolute credit,
like,
absolute credit.
yeah.
But I think we're having a good time, and hopefully, Dad will continue to be cool to some degree, and yeah,
Have
anyway.
a unique
Really
story
cool.
to tell.
Yeah, unique story to tell, and we just keep on going. So that's what it's all
People
about.
like funny old people.
Oh yeah, they like funny old people. You so much on the age thing, like I just turned 50, and then now I'm 51 soon, and it's
I'm
like
like 50.
it's like how does it
emphasize the
feel?
word.
Like how does it feel to be that old?
But
It's like,
you
you're
know,
so
'cause-
mean,
How does it feel to be
But
over
my
half a
dad,
century?
my dad was born in 1972.
Right. Okay.
So,
you're dead.
like,
Yeah.
my dad's kind of around
Yeah.
the similar sort of, and I don't see my dad as old. Like, I remember my dad when he was a young man. So, like, I've kind of grown up with him just as much as he's
Now,
watched
how
me
old was
grow
your
up.
dad when you were
Wow.
born then?
So what are you gonna do for his 50th?
He
What are
was
you gonna do?
22, I think.
What's your
Quite young.
Well,
What's your
he's
plan?
well, play Resident Evil together, like we did when
Does he
we did
play
in the early
games now?
2000s.
Sometimes still? No.
Not really. It was kind of well, Resident Evil was always been like a kind of a cult thing in my household, and I mean, you're familiar with WhatsApp and Snapchat and all those
Sure,
sorts
yeah.
of apps. Like even to this day, my mum would send me like pictures of just her eye, and she'd be like Resident Evil. Like,
Right. That's so cool.
yeah, so it's always have and actually one of my mum's favorite lines is Wesker's like, I can't, stop it, don't open that door.
That
Like,
door,
it's like
yeah,
she was always talking about that.
Oh, like when you're actually opening a door in the house or something, right? Stop
She
it,
just
don't
always
open the door.
she just always used to say it. But yeah, so it's kind of always been ingrained in us, and as I
Wow.
said, it's more of the family thing of watching. It's more than just the game. It was an experience.
That's right. This is completely right, and that's why everybody seems to be really into it. People are saying like, it's an hour and a half, right? I mean, not many people will stick around for an hour and a half, but they're like, dude, you're one of the few, games or YouTube experiences that I will sit and watch an hour and a half, and I had no problem. I love it. In fact, they end up watching, because we often post on Lexonal's channel first and then onto mine. I just watch it on Lexonal. Now I'm watching it again on yours, the same thing. But yeah, we're onto something a little bit, I think. And and
Resident
people
Evil
remember
fans
the
are
experience,
so loyal. Like, they're
Oh,
not
yeah,
just people.
and they
just,
love showing their
yeah.
their kit. I mean, there's so many people that have they have everything, right? Like all the games, like all the CDs, like they'll show like the little.
Apparently my Socrates did all the Resident Evil games, and he did it's like a 10-hour stream or something.
Yeah, no, I think he's done.
Like, it was
something.
a
You can
massive
take
stream.
this. You can take this so far though. Like you can watch, like you can review like the movies together. There's like Netflix series about Resident Evil. Obviously, the new Resident Evil film's just come out, which is about Resident Evil 1. Effectively, I know it's kind of creative liberties taken with the story. It's about Resident Evil 1 and 2, so you can kind of look at that and go like from this completely unique experience. And I think that's
true,
something
actually.
that you could look into.
Yeah,
Can you,
but
what about
like
watching
reviews.
a movie? Is that what? Can you watch
Is
a
it-
movie
is
and
it
then
the Welcome to Raccoon City? Was that the one that came out recently?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, we should watch that.
do we watch that and comment on it? Is that weird? Maybe that's weird.
Well,
No,
but
no,
you
not
could
on the comment.
you could just do like a summary or a review afterwards.
it's more
I can't
Oh,
just
that's
remember.
right.
like-
Yeah, we could do that. Yeah.
I think it's more like a
Is that bad, by the way? Like you can't just do that because that'll be copyright, right? I guess. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I think there's
There'll be
we've always
something.
had problems like
Yeah, you
posting
can't-
clips, but I mean you
Yeah,
can
I
post screenshots and stuff, and that'd be a really good that's a really good exercise, editing exercise for
Oh, yeah.
for Lexonal doing all this editing. If you do like a
Tasty.
review, you can bring up kind of look like screenshots and stuff. What you're talking about.
I see. Okay,
It's
so
all
that's
a
okay,
learning
right? Little
experience.
screenshots, and you kind of, and then you
Yeah.
can clip them together, kind of thing, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah, that'll be
transition,
fun, actually. Yeah,
Mm.
but people are, like, so RE1, RE2, RE3, we got that. And what about movies? Like, what like there's a lot of movies. Some people say
Yeah.
like just avoid them all, or avoid this and avoid that. I mean, I don't know. It's the Mila girl. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So
I don't know.
Paul,
Which ones
Paul,
should we see?
So watch them all, because at the end of the day, it's kind of like everyone has their own
All right. Okay.
feelings about the film. So I would recommend. Well, it's not like it doesn't follow the source material that well. If I'm honest, it's kind of its own universe in a way that kind of weaves in and out. It might reference characters and have characters in it, but they're not like the representation that they did. If I'm honest, if you watch Welcome to Raccoon City, which is the newest one, even though people don't necessarily hold it in the highest regard, it's still quite not there yet. But no one's kind of written a book on how to kind of do a movie based on a game. So it's always going to be
do a movie.
So none of these games, these movies, have Capcom like really invested inside. I mean, obviously Capcom is, giving them a right to do it, but like I don't know. Are the people that created the RE1, RE2, RE3 games, are they? It seems like they don't have any say in this whole thing. Like they're just not. They're just not consulted.
If you wanted more of a pure experience, they have these kind of animated movies.
Oh right.
Which they made, which are very, very close to the source material. There's actually one out on Netflix called Infinite Darkness, Resident Evil Infinite Darkness.
Oh yeah. I've heard this. Yeah.
That's
Infinite Darkness. Yeah.
These follow the source. Write this down.
Yeah. I mean, like if I don't, I'm going to forget it, But anyway, yeah. I think I've seen that Infinite Darkness. Yeah.
And of course, it would be. I don't know what sort of bookworm you guys are, but the SD Perry novels, which are about. I've got me right. So, in addition,
he's written books.
Yeah, so SD Perry is a lady.
Okay.
It's Resident Evil: The Umbrella Conspiracy, but it's a whole series, and it's a adaptation. It's a book adaptation of the game. So but your experience in reading this, there's so much more. Like there's a lot of creative liberties taken in kind of a good way. You'll get like this really different story than like Chris's stories. And it's and again, if you're big into books and that, definitely check out the SD Perry novels.
I played that game, also that book we read, that you decide thing. Like, you remember that?
Choose Your Own Adventure? Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to love the books.
Yeah, what if you?
And then kind of cool. Go into page 35 or like.
Maybe we can do that. We can choose our own adventure with.
Yeah.
Somebody sent me like a PDF of the whole of all the characters and the storyline, and it must have been 100 pages. It was 100 pages of like just full on. Trying to explain Resident Evil, right? From full hardcore. Like I was like, wow, this is a complex game. This is one complex game, and all the characters and where they've come from and what they did, and
there's just some guys in Japan that make it up.
Yeah, exactly. We're ultimately playing games which probably wasn't even designed to be played by a Western audience really initially.
No,
and here we are.
But there was never Japanese voices, right? In that Resident Evil, it was always using the English, right? I think later in the series they definitely had Japanese voice actors, but I'm sure like for the original series they just had it was just subtitled. Yeah. Because I have a staff. Actually, he's around your age. He's 25, 26, and when I said off the cuff, that I was Albert Wesker and stuff, and he was just like, what? Like, like he's dealing in Japanese swords with me, and then he was totally surprised and, kind of famous, like that, this game in Japan, like Biohazard, kind of famous. Biohazard,
By the way, it is Saturday.
It's Saturday now. We've passed
it. It is. And I am mindful, of course. You may need to prepare for Monday, Lexonal. So
no, Monday's off, but because we have it's midterm. That's one of the reasons why the 11th worked, because he's off next week, right?
right.
It's a half-term break right now. So
Oh, apologies. So you're just starting it rather than just ending it.
he's just starting it now.
Best time.
Oh, brilliant. Brilliant.
That's why
Oh,
the Friday is the
we
best day of his life right now. It's like,
yeah. We got
this
all
is a
night.
happy Lexonal, you know. And next Friday, not
It's day out.
good. Not good.
Tuesdays, I'm like,
Yeah, I know. He just counts down the days, you know. But we'll try and get maybe a couple Chris's in this week. What do you think?
yeah, sure. We can just...
Maybe do it.
And listen, if you ever needed any, I know Matt RPD is a really great resource for getting things set up for you. But anything you guys need from, you know, if you need help setting anything up, Lexonal, if you need any editing advice or anything like that, you know, or feel free to reach out. My inbox is always open.
That's awesome, man.
Thank you.
That's really great, actually, yeah, because I think he'll appreciate.
By the way,
that,
can I ask, what's your fastest Resident Evil 1 speedrun?
So I'm not a speedrunner, so I play. It's kind of like yourselves, really. I kind of play the game. Obviously, I know the game inside out, back to front, like the back of my hand. But I'd say probably the fast time's around an hour. I would say.
Yeah.
But I generally play it for the interactions in the chat.
course.
Really.
Yeah.
I know when Matt's playing, he's like looking over the chat quickly. Oh yeah, and it's like
can you enjoy
his mumbling? It's like rah, 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 rah.
yeah. Can you just enjoy the game like without going fast? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, I used to be a competitive swimmer. When I go to the pool, sometimes I did so many years of just training and looking at the clock and trying to get a certain time. Now I've finally been able to go in the pool and just swim and not worry about that, right? What I'm trying to say is that when you get into a flow of games, everybody maybe develops their own style, their own way of playing, and then maybe you're always just trying to go as fast as you can. Have you seen yourself evolve while you've played this game? Like, are you sort of taking it in a bit more now when you play, or are you noticing other things? Or I don't know.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I wouldn't even be able to tell you how many times I play Resident Evil 1 now. It'd be like
1,000.
every area, all the lines.
Yeah, exactly. Like discovering other places, right? Like just kind of, I never noticed this. No, I mean, I don't know. Like I mean, just because there's people always say, look at each room, right?
Yeah,
because
it's just
more
the detail. It's just for such an old game, like the detail is just absolutely. And just like who would design mansions like that? Like it's just,
exactly.
just the internal decor is just
another
level.
A lot of carpet cleaning. We were thinking.
A lot of
You
carpet.
think they designed the game for speedrunning to happen?
And that's it. And no toilets in the mansion.
There
Aside from one, actually.
There's
There is
one.
one, but
it's not useful.
Yeah, it's not useful.
but imagine if it's
Nothing useful, it
engaged.
says.
You're
Nothing
like,
useful. I love
imagine
that
if it's engaged. You're like, oh man, I really need to go to the toilet, but now I've got to get the crank to put the crests in, to wind up, drop the water. Oh yeah, finally. But the guardhouse got 3 toilets. They're spoiled.
Oh, that's right. That's right, actually. That's so funny. It's true. It's
you need to become a Jill sandwich to get into the toilet.
That is a funny. That there are so many rooms and there's so many doors and so many door handles, right? So, but yeah, I still get confused every time I go in there. I'm like, because I'm not playing, but he seems to kind of, he's got a lay of the land there a bit more. But for me, I was like, now I still get lost. It takes a while for me to process. I don't know. Some people are processing a little bit easier, but
whenever I play Resident Evil,
you figure you can make that map. If I were to say, you would know where things are.
Yeah. Absolute back of man. But on top of that, the way I always experience Resident Evil is like for the first time, like especially obviously with the more modern ones, notepad and pen. Notepad and pen. Then when you read a document and you think, I think that bit of information might be important. It looks like a code or what have you. Write that down. Yeah, right. And then it's old school. I appreciate, but
no, it's good.
Nothing beats it.
I like writing. That's why I'm always using pencil too. I like a pencil. I think we're going to wrap up pretty soon here. I think. Eh? Yeah,
but yeah. No, we're kind of. And again, like anything you guys need from us, we want to. You guys are kind of in the community now. We want to see you two grow and produce the best content ultimately you can. So, I think we'll do the sort of dynamic duo, as people are kind of calling us at the moment. But it's actually a lot of fun, just kind of like hanging out and we went for a good walk today.
I just go into my room and record. I don't think of myself as some type of superhero.
No, I know. But it's like but it's nice to grow and like, I mean, he had like what 30 30 subs,
38.
and then all of a sudden it kind of just grew and grew
38
and grew.
subscribers.
30 subscribers, and anyway, it's just nice, hit the 500 mark, and so yeah, if with your help and others out there that are paying attention, like, yeah, come on over and come on for the ride, because we're playing this for everyone that's had that experience with somebody else when they played, and so it's a little bit of a back to the future in a sense, So it's a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Lexonal, anything you want to add before we wrap up?
I don't know, just
The floor's yours, my friend.
Yeah, your channel. What's your channel? How do you spell it?
Lexonal.
Okay, Lexonal. Check them out. And yeah, anything else you want to say?
Thanks for the interview.
Yeah, no,
It's a man of many words.
I was thinking that if I just went to the seafront and looked through one of those like 1p telescope, and I just see you on the other side.
Yeah,
That's right. Actually,
you'll be over. Oh, hello, there he is. I can see his two screens
through the window. There it is, exactly, right over the River Thames. I can see that dude. There it is.
One's on the boat. I'm trying to rush it at the same time as he's coming.
That's great. I love it.
Tell you, yeah. No, I and again, like, from me to you, Pablo, I really, really appreciate you coming on, and hopefully, we can get you more involved with the community, and obviously by proxy Lexonal as well. And hopefully this is the start of something really, really cool for yourselves.
Great. Well, it's been a pleasure being here, and thanks for all your support. And let's march on. Let's march forth with more RE. So come check us out.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you. Yeah. Cheers. Thanks a lot.
Indeed. Thank you everyone for watching this episode of the Biohazard Declassified podcast. Have a safe night wherever you are in the world, and hopefully we'll catch up soon.
Very good. Cheers, guys. Bye-bye. Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.